Kelly from Cards by Christine here with you on a Technique Thursday to share with you the Simply Slant technique. All right, here we go. So this card or this layout has been a little bit of a buzz around the Stampin' community recently. And it's really easy and it makes a really beautiful card. So I'm going to share with you how to create this layout, and also we're gonna kind of throw in a little bit of a tip as well. So I'm going to grab my stuff so that you can work along with me. I'm using the free beautifully penned designer series paper. It's a sale-a-bration item that you can get free with a minimum order. And it's lovely. I've used it many times already. I can't stop using it. I don't know. I've kind of started to have an affinity for black and white paper a couple of catalogs ago, and I just can't stop using it. So the card base is thick basic white, and I'm going to make it into a card base and then show you. I'm going to lace in the tip right away. So here's our standard card base. I'm using a vertical flip, or like a top open card. And when you take a sheet of DSP, oopsies, when it's a 12 by 12 sheet of DSP, if you're strategic about your cutting, you'll get more bang for your buck. So I liked how on my inspiration card, the DSP went all the way to the edges. There was no mat, and I really liked that look. So to create a flush to the edge card, your piece of DSP would have to be 4 1/4. If it's 4 1/4, you only get 2 cuts of card base for fronts, compared to if you shrunk it down to 4, you'd get 3. So it'd be a cut at 4, a cut at 8, and then you'd have the last cut or the end of the paper at 12. So the first step is to take your card base and cut it down at 4. Now, Chris and I were talking about, now then do we take and trim down the card length from 5 1/2 to 5 1/4? And I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer to that. I just left it at 5 1/2, and I think it looks fine. I think it's really unnoticeable that we even altered the dimensions of the card. So then what you'd have is, and I'm not going to cut this because I have plenty of scraps, but the first cut I would make is 5 1/2 plus 5 1/2 is 11. So I'd cut 1 inch off the bottom or top, and then I'd cut 4 and 8, or 4 and 4, and then cut at 5 1/2 down the middle, and you'd get 6 fronts and a 1 inch scrap. So that's how you would cut to make a load of these. I'm going to be using some scraps that I had from Chris's card bases from different cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and cut them at 4. And then at 5 1/2. And then to make the diagonal, what I did is I decided what sides I wanted. So a light and a dark. And then I laid the 2 sides I wanted up, and then put them together, and then put it in my cutter at an angle. And there's really no rhyme or reason to how I measured out or figured out this angle. And then cut. Then I took one of each. So in this instance, I should be done with the cutter now. So then in this instance, I took the black bottom and the polka dot top, and then I will glue these on. And then you have another set with the exact same proportion, just different, you know, black on top, white on the bottom, that you could do for a different card. Or you could flip it over and have this variation, which is beautiful. I actually really like that as well. So that's how you make the background. And I'm just gonna walk you through a couple other things that I did to complete this card. So bear with me. Chris and I are of the liquid glue variety. Obviously, whatever adhesive is your poison of choice, you can use for this. But go ahead and get your card base matted up with your pieces of DSP. All the way to the edges. And then I stamped the focal image from, Hand Penned Petals, which obviously is a stamp set that coordinates with this DSP that we're using. I used this with Memento Black, and then I used this with Freesia to color in here, and then I used this image to color in over here with a stamped off Freesia, and then I used the two leaves and soft succulent, as well as a soft succulent blend to finish the coloring on this beautiful flower. I used this stitched shape from the Hippo dies, and I used dimensionals behind that, and then I had a little piece of this black sparkly ribbon. I can't think of the name right now off the top of my head, my apologies. But, you know, there's just a small pop of color with the Freesia and the soft succulent, but I didn't want it to be too predominantly white, so what I did, and I can't tell on my screen if you can see that or not, but I put Stella on the whole background of this stitched shape of sorts. I really don't know what this shape is called, but so I went ahead and put a small layer of Stella over the whole back here. And then as I'm doing that, I'll talk through the rest of the finishing touches on here. And speaking of which, I didn't put an embellishment on here. So I think what I'll do is I'll find like the matte black dots and put a couple matte black dots on there. So I kind of want to do that yet. But go ahead and Stella. Of course, I made a bloober of Stella there. Stella has a way of, I don't know, doing her own thing sometimes. That said, I love Stella. She's my favorite. Let's see here. Okay, just a little bit more. And I didn't go all the way on the inside because I knew there were places that were gonna get covered up. So I kind of just, you know, filled it in somewhat. Okay, so then, and I'm sorry, I see I need to reposition my screen. We don't have the camera set perfectly for this. Then I used white embossing powder on basic black for the sentiment, and I tore the edge. And last but certainly not least, just a bunch of dimensionals to pop this layer and this layer up, and you have a really simple, beautiful card and layout. So I named it, or maybe I took inspiration from someone else. I can't even remember. I was really, I saw it, I loved it, and I knew I wanted to do it, and then the card just kind of came together really easily. So the simple slant technique, great way to show off DSP, especially how well our DSP coordinates. You can use 2 sheets from a pack of DSP and really end up with a beautiful card. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the little bonus tip as well about the cutting of the DSP to get the most bang for your buck. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and catch Chris tonight for some card making live on Cards by Christine. Have a great day.